All right.
And we're back again.
And we're back. Who popped your culture? Tommy, Muda, we're here. The boys, the whole gang's here.
WPYC Internet.
Radio. So it's May. It's the month of Mother's Day. It's also the month of my birth. And what better way to commemorate that than with probably my favorite sitcom of all time, The Golden Girls. As you can see, I'm fully decked out. I have my pops and all of my everything else. Golden Girls are either in my living room or in my kitchen. But I have glassware, I have shot glasses, wine glasses, games. I have fucking pens, notebooks. If their faces are on it, and that's been a thing the last few years, is they've really like started to put out a lot of merch for this show. If I see it in Walmart, I'm getting it. I don't look at the price. I don't give a fuck. I'm buying it. Like, I have to have it. I have pajama pants, fucking underwear, socks, like you name it, I have it. It's really the only like name that I feel like I own more of anything. Or property that I have to have.
Even more than Kiss?
Yeah, I stopped buying Kiss stuff. I actually have very little Kiss stuff now.
I respect that.
A lot of my stuff either got stolen, lost in a move, or I had a very toxic relationship, I should say, before I met Amanda, where basically I got like a trash bag of clothes and everything else stayed behind.
Right.
Like trash bag of clothes, my records, and like a few of my movies, even a lot of my movies I left behind. So basically I started over in a nutshell. But so most of my Kiss stuff was lost there, or I'm sure by this point, I'm sure that lady sold them.
Right.
Or her kids have them. But anyways, yeah, Gold Girls.
Yeah, and I have nothing but love for the show.
Which is fair. I mean,
like, it'd be perfectly honest, like so many other things, I fucking hated it when I was a kid.
I didn't. I've always liked it.
I mean, it was because all it did was remind me of when I got like dumped off on my like really like elderly grandparents or like great grandparents, where there was like the disparity in age kept us from having anything in common other than genes. Like, yeah, and they like, and that's another.
You didn't like the same food. You didn't like the same music. You didn't like
the
same
food.
Show.
The candy was terrible. Fucking like, like that's like my the only thing on the TV, and there was
sugar-free gum.
There was no compromise over the TV time, and all that was ever on was fucking horse racing. Yeah. Like it was like, all of these things now that I can appreciate, but when I was, south of 10 years old, this is the worst. So, and that's what, back then, that is what Golden Girls reminded me of. And at the same time, Golden Girls was not fucking meant for me. I didn't get any of the jokes.
Wasn't meant for me either.
No, like, I mean, good on you for being able to get into it, but like, it just didn't, like like just about everything about the show was like anathema to my child self. And then and it was with speaking of exes, it was my ex, RIP, who fucking she loved it. Like she lived down south and with her mother, single mother most of the time. So it was just the girls. And it was like she was just like, it was summer.
Yeah.
Like summer in the South. Like it reminded, that it was different, entirely different than climate than Miami. It was like northern Alabama, but it was like, that was her mother
muggy there.
Right. Yeah. Her mother had I actually got to see this, even though it was like way beyond the time of that particular decor. But like, yeah, she decorated the inside of her house very similarly to the fucking Golden Girls.
A lot of wicker.
Like, I get it. I'm like, I feel like I'm there.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in the house.
I feel like you need to go have cheesecake on the lanai.
Right. And then she, and because she was a big fan of it, I got all the seasons and we sat there and we watched it, and I was just like, this show is fucking genius.
It was ahead of its time.
Way ahead of its
time. I mean,
time.
it started in September of 85, and this is actually another cool thing that happened because we'd planned this before the show even started, technically.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like part of we were just trying to schedule out what was going on, and we're like, let's do Golden Girls for Mother's Day. Fuck
yeah. And the show ended May 9th of 92.
No shit.
So yeah, it's 30 years this month that the show ended. And not only that, I share a birthday with not only my favorite character, B. Arthur, Dorothy. I share a birthday with B. Arthur. And I mean, I loved her in Maude too, which growing up, it was always on. But it would have been B. Arthur's 100th birthday, May 13th.
No shit.
So timing is just of the essence with this show for some reason.
Yeah, it's
happy accidents.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And now everybody's on YouTube's gonna make Golden Girls videos.
We'll see.
Because a certain channel that we've discussed in the past just made a you can't say that on television video. I don't know if you saw that yet or not.
It is weird.
I guess obviously
it's serendipitous, but
yeah, I think it's just happenstance. It just works out that way, but it's weird.
There's no fucking way that there's zero chance that they're waiting for us to fucking.
Yeah, we're not exactly on the radar of hot trending YouTube channels.
I still don't know what's wrong with the people that listen to us on Spotify.
I know,
or the Apple or whatever
those fucking
podcast. Hell yeah!
So if you're listening, you're watching. Do all the things that everybody always says: like, subscribe, rate, review, all that shit. Fucking ring the bell, ching-a-ling-a-ding ding. It's Salvation Army at Christmas time.
Oh yeah, and also something that we've failed to do a number of times. I think, especially since we switched over.
Yeah. Last month we did pretty good, but it was at the end. We never throw it in towards the beginning of an episode.
We should do it in the beginning. Yes. Mudamerch.com, mudamerch.com to get yourself Who Popped Your Culture t-shirts, and there's a couple other ones there.
Yeah.
Show your support and enjoy our different themed ones. I don't know if we're gonna have a themed one for this month. I
feel like we have to have something.
I'll try to whip something up. I want so badly to be able to harness the power of whatever, like Miami era or Miami area foliage and wicker furniture, and somehow put that into
Well, my idea I thought was pretty funny was us in old lady wigs.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So us sitting on a wicker couch with like palm trees. If you can figure something out with that, I think it doesn't even have to be our faces, but just like a silhouette.
Maybe I might be able to put something together.
Figure something out. I think that would be fucking hilarious.
It's a weird one for me.
Yeah.
Creatively, it's a weird
and the font for like the logo and stuff is very just
generic.
Bland generic, yeah.
Yeah.
But something about that logo is still like synonymous with, pop culture. It is. Everybody knows that opening theme, the plane, I mean the song alone makes, half the show.
Yeah. Like and who was the writer on that show? Who's like the main
writer? Susan Harris created it. Let's see, who was the main writer?
Like we're talking like that's like guys. That's just like golden era. Like golden era. Like it, and pun or no pun intended there, but it is literally the golden era of fucking of sitcoms. Like because it was when did Seinfeld start? Was it
89?
Yeah. So fucking Golden Girls, Seinfeld, and then you get all like the TGIF stuff. Like that second half of the 80s into the 90s. Holy shit.
Okay, so Susan Harris wrote the pilot. She contributed another 4 episodes to the first season, but became less involved throughout its run. She continued reading all the scripts, remained familiar with the storylines. Kathy Spear and Terry Grossman were the first head writers of the series. And then I thought it was 2 guys towards the end that started writing it. Christopher Lloyd was the producer, not Doc Brown, Christopher Lloyd, but another guy. I'm not seeing it on the Wikipedia. I mean, I guess I could.
Yeah, I mean, and
it really doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. I had I was half expecting like Chuck Lorre to be a part of it, like that, because that guy's like he's
everything he touches turns to fucking gold.
Yeah, King Midas's sitcoms, like, and fuck even.
It has that vibe though. It has a very 2.5 Men vibe to it. If you really sit and think about it,
the multi-camera sitcom that's a formula,
mm-hmm.
And really the like the cadence,
mm-hmm.
like the cadence of the lines and the jokes and the tone going up and down. It's 100% a formula, and now as has been very clear through all of the horrible ones that we have seen since they've like existed. It's not a guarantee, because you got to have the right people reciting the lines, and you got to have the right people writing the lines. And I mean, fuck.
Oh, it's a formula that works, but it has to be. You have to have
the right parts too.
Right.
It's not a guarantee. It's not going to guarantee you sitcom success just by the very nature of it being or adhering to the formula.
Yeah, and the main cast, I mean, is just heavy hitters.
This with the Golden Girls, holy shit!
It's one of the best casts. I mean, and the ensemble cast, like Stan is great. A few other people, like the kids come in here and there, like, but it's not really anything. Like even grandkids come to visit and stuff, which is obviously that's a good concept for an episode or two, considering their age.
Right.
But like B. Arthur, like I said, she was in fucking Maude. She was a star on stage and screen.
Yeah.
Betty White, who probably one of the most recognizable people of the 20th and 21st century so far. As Rose, who is just a cuckoo bird. Estelle Getty, who I think she was probably the lesser known of the 4 at the time, but now there's people who think Sophia just hung the fucking moon, which I mean I love Sophia, but I obviously have my favorite, Dorothy. Dorothy always reminded me of my dad's mom. She's a very stern, handsome woman. Crosses that you're kind of like, she could probably kick my ass.
She like that was one, like because like so many other things, Golden Girls, like it was not my thing, but it was on.
Yeah.
That was a show that my grandmothers would watch, my mother would watch, like stuff like that. So it was on. B. Arthur, she was a queen of the resting bitch face.
Yeah.
Like, which, I think was a turnoff as a kid, because she just always looked like she was going to yell at me.
Yeah. Which I loved, because I was always that person.
I
always have been, even when I was a kid. I would stare you down.
I was always getting yelled at. So it was like, I didn't need that on TV too.
Yeah.
Whereas so Sophia had the attitude,
mm-hmm.
and she was always yelling at people, but for some reason she did it in such a cartoonish way that I loved Sophia as a kid. Like when she was on,
she was like that cute little grandma that you would just,
right.
Sophia reminds me of Amanda's grandmother. She's just a short, small woman who can kill you with her words, but she can do it nice enough that it doesn't really hurt your feelings.
Right.
You're just like, oh, she's cute.
And the being a part of a partially Italian family
Mm-hmm.
in New York as well. Like even just like there's just the exchanges between Sophia and Dorothy were just like familiar to
Stuff,
me.
stuff we knew. Yeah.
And like when it's a lot of the times I forget, like for somehow, because it's almost, I mean, it seems like every episode Sophia's talking about Sicily. And like the
picture it, Sicily, 1923.
Yeah, fucking. And for some reason, like if I'm not watching the show, I forget that they're Italian.
Yeah,
it's very weird. But it like, I don't know, man. Like when I found my love for this show, it felt like I felt like I've been missing out for so long.
Let's talk about it. So you got into it with the girl you were dating that got into it, and you bought the seasons. That's when you got into it,
right? Like she wanted to watch it, so we got them, and we sat down and we started watching them and like binging them. And I was just like, this fucking show is genius. Like it's so like everything kind of came together, and like fucking like the very adult aspects of this show like started like emerge.
Blanche is a slut.
Yeah. Blanche being a slut. Fucking even any of them. Like it's the one. I think I'm not making this shit up. There's one episode where Rose like goes. I think it's like where she goes on like a first date in a while, and then they start getting busy, and then fucking somebody like breaks their hip in the shower or something.
I know there's the one where she's with the gentleman and he has a heart attack.
Maybe. Okay.
And she finds out later on he's married, and then she goes to visit his wife.
I am mixing that up. I remember that.
Yeah.
And I'm mixing it up with Roseanne.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
There's another one for the golden era fucking sitcoms. That was where her mother, the Roseanne's mother.
Yes.
She like busts her hip, and then they find out later she broke her hip in the shower when she was having sex with a dude.
Yeah, old people having sex is funny. But yeah, I mean, I don't remember the first time watching it. I know I saw it when it was still on, like weekly. Because everybody it was one of those shows everybody watched. I mean, I'm looking at the ratings right now. The first season they averaged 21.8 million viewers. Second season 24.5. Third season 21.8. Fourth season 21.4. Fifth season 20.1. Sixth season starts to die down 16.5, which that's 91. And then the seventh and last season 92, 13.1 million average.
Man, it was pretty great.
Yeah.
Back when there was only 3 channels.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is like everybody watched, the same shit.
That's a lot. Right.
And if you missed it, you missed it.
Yeah, you did.
There was no going back.
But like I'm just you're sitting here talking about like tens of millions of people.
Yeah. People don't do that anymore. No. TV's not a thing.
No, you're lucky if you're lucky. Like, man, Christ's sake, how we got started with the wrestling and shit like that. The idea that you could breach 1 million viewers, on a show that's a good day,
right?
And like that. Well, I mean, I understand the Nielsen ratings are completely fucking obsolete nowadays, but man, it's a lot. That's a lot.
Well, and later on, they start figuring in, streaming viewers like Sling and all that stuff, and then DVR, things like that. But I mean, back then it was strictly, they sent you something in the mail, and you'd
have to get a Nielsen box.
Yeah, a Nielsen box. Yeah. But yeah, this show was, I mean, I watched it constantly as a kid, and then I remember what brought me back was an SNL sketch, and I remember Laura Flynn Boyle was the host, and Bon Jovi was the musical guest. So of course I'm a fan of that. And they did a sketch, and it was Jimmy Fallon, Chris Kattan, Horatio Sands, and I forget who else was in the sketch. But they're doing like they basically did like refilm the episodes as them, like on a little home video camcorder. And they're sitting at the kitchen table. They like had their whole house set up to look like the girl's house. And Chris Kattan starts choking on a piece of cheesecake and he ends up dying. So then like at school they have like, or at his funeral they have this whole thing and the guys are all dressed up like they would, like recreating the episodes, and they're singing "Thank You for Being a Friend." And I just remember that was so funny, and I don't know what it was, but me and my friend Cameron, who I talked about, going to his house last weekend, that was like, I don't know what it was about that skit, but it was like, holy shit, yeah, that show is so funny. And he's like, yeah, I've always liked that show too. So then we started watching it together. Like when I would go to his house or he'd come to my house, and that back then it was Lifetime,
right?
Exclusively, basically on
Lifetime.
Now it seems like it's on every channel. But I mean, we would just sit there and fucking laugh our asses off, and like our parents are like, why are you guys watching Golden Girls? So it got so bad, like in a good way, to the point where in 8th grade I was in speech class and I had to write a speech on it was basically like, I forget what the concept of the speech had to, or the context of the speech had to be about, but basically I had said basically there needs to be a 24/7 Golden Girls channel. Fuck this Lifetime shit, like they need their own network. And my speech teacher's just in tears laughing at the concept of this. And finally I finished my speech and I was like, this has to happen. Or I think we had to write a letter or something to a corporation, or maybe that's what it was. I don't remember. He was like, it is a funny show. And he's like, I think it should be on. And this is before streaming services.
Right.
And then when it hit fucking Hulu, like, and now it's like, we'll watch a random episode whenever. I don't have to watch it from beginning to end. It's one of those shows where you can just pick it up wherever, and it's for laughs. The one-liners in it alone are fucking just out of this world.
They were it's
the comedic timing
is perfect. And I understand that these are all like professionals, like with
seasoned,
very very seasoned professionals. And like because you look at it, you were talking about and why Estelle Getty, like Estelle Getty had because she was the youngest, which that was, I remember that the first time I learned that, it blew my mind, that she was the youngest cast member by like no small amount either, like I think like 10 years or whatever, and then she was also the first to go. But it like, so it's not really, and it shouldn't be a surprise that they were as good at all of that stuff, knowing exactly when. And now, mind you, there's also there's editing involved in there too, but like you probably didn't need it as much, And I know, like, especially back with the days of tape, like, you wanted to get it done as quickly as possible, and as perfect as possible.
Which this, to what you're saying, this is something I just found out recently, like within the last probably 6 months or so. They would tape the same episode twice. They taped on Fridays and they would tape for one audience, and then they would let that audience out, let a new audience in, and tape that same episode. That's fucking crazy to me. That seems very time consuming. Probably,
but I also wonder if they were able to, because they were so professional, like, and I've never watched any documentaries about this or anything, so like I have no idea
how many bloopers and outtakes and shit like that. Like, could they just run through it, or were there several takes per recording?
Like they were able to, if everything looked like everything was on the same, if all the costumes were the same, all those things, if they were able to do it so efficiently that they were just like, well, we're scheduled for the weekend, but like we already got it, so you want to just do it again and maybe see if like something's better.
Well, because when you think about it,
almost more of an attraction, like they like doing like more like a Broadway show,
right? And that's kind of
a second show just because,
and that's kind of the vibe I got from it when I found that out. I was like, so it's just a stage show, it's like a theater,
right? And they're all so good, like, I mean, fuck Christ, like the 80s. Like Betty White has been at it for 40 fucking years or more.
Right,
You
yeah,
know, like and
forever.
like in, you know, Dorothy and or not, or B and oh my god, what's her
Rue
fucking name?
McClanahan.
Yes. Like they'd all been at
They
it
were on
for so
Mod
fucking
together.
long. Like that there's no, you know, like just again, seasoned professionals. Like there's no other way to describe it.
And seasoned
Like,
professionals to the point where B. Arthur really didn't like Betty White that much. And it
yeah,
wasn't as far as she didn't like her as a person. It was B. Arthur is very, she likes to be able, or she liked, I should say, she's passed away, obviously. But it's from everything that I've heard, she liked to pick on people. And not in like a bully way, but like, you know, just constant ribbing. Like she liked to joke around and like, you know, be kind of a dick.
Mm-hmm.
And Betty White was just so, you know, over the top and jubilant and fucking happy and saving dogs and cats, and that's awesome. But yeah, I could kind of see where that just overwhelmingly, like 100% of the time, like,
Right,
you're positive,
right. You
it'll
can't, and
wear on
there's
a
like,
motherfucker.
sure, and
I'm
then
the
like there's
same
nothing to
way
poke
though.
at. There's
Yeah,
nothing to poke at as
yeah,
well. Like it's probably, I wonder, she's just like, I want a river, but like
she's
she's
so
not making
fucking nice.
she's
Yeah.
not making it easy.
But I guess
Uh
also Betty White, like in between takes, she would go sit in the audience and stuff and talk to audience members and
right,
stuff,
yeah.
which is wild.
I mean, like
But she was that kind of person.
well, she was also, that's the kind of stuff that she was doing. Like like she was very much like a USO show type of
Yes.
performer. Like
Yes.
so she, you know, in between she'd work the crowd.
How long have you guys been married? Oh, 20 years over here, folks.
Right. Yeah. Like she should have had a fucking residency in Vegas. Like,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
like she could have opened up for Wayne Newton.
Or the
Like
Burt Reynolds Theater in Miami.
yeah. You know, and it's I mean, it's just ridiculous. The amount of talent.
Yeah.
Like when all of them were on the stage at the same time. Like that amount of talent was like, it's just unprecedented.
And even
Like,
when there was like somber moments, though, somebody would say a line and it would just kill.
I will say that the Betty White bloopers, or like the Betty White bloopers and ad libs, I think are some of the best comedy I think I've ever seen. Like when she would ad lib, like and
when she was like going off on St. Olaf and stuff about growing up.
Yes.
Those are so fucking funny. Harfennugan and shit, like just saying those fucking silly fucking words.
Because when you can take, like when you can deliver off the cuff, when you can deliver that kind of fucking like hilarious lunacy,
mm-hmm.
And it with a like totally deadpan, in Rose's way, but that like when you can make people like Rue McClanahan and B. Arthur and Estelle Getty pop,
yeah,
like you're a god of the art.
Yeah, it's not like it's fucking the SNL ensembles of the years. Like when they break, you know, it's like it's gonna happen. It's a bunch of stand-up comedians, yeah. But these are like well-seasoned, yeah, somewhat comedic actresses, but still, like they're seasoned professionals. They're gonna be able to get these takes out without, you know, flubbing up or making somebody laugh. But in the sitcom world, it's gonna happen.
Right. Like, I mean, it's almost a guarantee, but it like just I don't know. Like it's a lot of it. You just like you sit there and you watch it and you fucking, you know, rewatching it and stuff like that, and just like shaking your head. Like you get to a point where like you can't even laugh anymore.
Yeah,
like it's just like, this is fucking hilarious. I'm laughed out, and I'm in awe.
Yeah,
I'm in awe of everything. I'm in awe of the lines that they're given. I'm in awe of the lines that they create on the fly. The delivery, and I can't, like, you know, like it's one of those things I just want to sit there and fucking gush over it, and I'm like, there's nothing intelligible. The show is probably as close to perfect as you're ever going to get in a sitcom.
And to think that, you know, it did end 30 years ago and it's still on. Like
still on, and it still holds up like it's brand new.
And people still watch it.
Like,
I mean, I see people post about it on social media all the time.
Even, you know, regardless of any references, and none of them stick out, but like references to, you know, like current day, like politicians so it would have been what, like it would have been Reagan and Bush.
Yeah.
And like,
and that was very Dorothy's like comedic style on the show, was like Rose would ask a question and she'd be like, no, Rose, Ronald Reagan's coming over for dinner or something, and everybody would laugh, you know.
Yeah,
it was such a stupid question to be asked, like it was an obvious answer, and then Dorothy would just fucking whatever was with the time. She was like, there was one where it was something like what is there, some parade or something, and she'd be like, no, Bon Jovi's in town or some shit. Like, you know, it's like, but whatever was popular at the time, they tried to kind of wedge it in,
but they didn't need to.
But like, they didn't need
like
to.
A lot of it, like it was like those are probably some of the lamer jokes. Like the, you know, like Dorothy could, you know, deliver a snarky comment, and then, but it was probably going to be Rose's dim-witted response that made everybody chuckle.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, and that's another thing too, is I did not appreciate deadpan humor when I was a kid. I needed like a tonal hint that I was supposed to find something funny, especially if it was over my head. And that's another thing nowadays, like, yeah, like both Dorothy and Sophia, both fantastic, like deadpan. Like they're you know, just, you know, straight faced, half annoyed, very snarky, you know, like it. Whereas, you know, it was the Blanche's kind of like over the top Southern Belle delivery of everything was, I mean, that was its own form of comedy. And then Rose being a fucking dimwit, like, just, you know, it was like, I understood the comedy of Blanche and Rose when I was a kid. You know, because it was, you know,
they pretty much laid it out there. Like Rose was dumb, dimwit, I should say. She wasn't dumb. She was just silly,
like wacky. Just kind
and
of
like
Blanche
more like just like sexual
absent-minded,
slutty humor,
right? And you know, the as I don't know if the big bag of porn thing ever made it in to any of our shows.
I don't know.
But like, maybe. But it was like, you know, that was the age, you know, with my first coming of age was younger than average, just based on the big bag of porn my friends and I found. And then also
maybe we did talk about that, because I think I remember talking about finding a Playboy in the woods.
Yeah, the and HBO late night. That was there's two very, it was again the naivety of our parents, had no idea what they were.
The last button we spoke about.
Yeah. So we've, you know, like I understood slutty humor a lot earlier than I probably should have.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then Rose, I knew what like dumb humor was.
Yeah,
like I knew why it was funny that Rose didn't get, especially when whatever Dorothy's comment would be, if I understood it at anywhere from 5 to 8 years old, if I understood it and then Rose couldn't, that was funny. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you're like, I'm smarter than her.
Yeah, like I'm smarter than this old lady, you know. And so that was, that was you know, that, like, I understood that. And then it wasn't until way later, and I got old and snarky and sarcastic and you know, like, it's I love a good deadpan delivery, I really do. And, you know, and Sophia's still my favorite because she's like, she cuts like a knife.
Yeah, like
she just constant, especially Rose. Like, she has no patience for Rose's dim-wittedness, and like, she just cuts her down constantly. And like, what she's saying is hilarious, and then also the fact that Rose has no idea she's being made fun of. Yeah, the situation itself is, you know, it's perfect. It
really she's just unaware of the situation, and and the jokes that they're making about her to her face.
Yeah.
They're not hiding it.
And then so there, I mean, there's the comedies. The comedy is definitely, that's what everybody remembers. Because it's it's the tent pole of the show. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's a sitcom, it's situational comedy. Like that's what it's supposed to be. But their ability also to bring it down.
Mm-hmm.
Like they really they nailed it. They nailed this fucking show.
Yeah. And there are moments where, like, two of the girls get pissed at each other and somebody threatens to move out or whatever.
Right. And then
by the end of the episode, they're all laughing and it's all good and well, but
it like the emotional roller coaster
mm-hmm.
is palpable. Like you go, like if one of them threatens to move out, like that's like the end of the fucking world. Like it's like these four old ladies are literally holding the world together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and if they can't come together, then everything falls apart.
Right.
And it's like, what is life? Like, what is life if one of these women has to go? And it's like, words. I got very little.
I always became like, even now, still going back and watching the show, and I've seen it through God knows how many times, but like anytime there's mention of like Blanche saying, well, this is my house, you can't, like Rose brought in a stray dog at one point,
mm-hmm.
and she's like, oh, is it okay if I just keep the dog until I find its owners or whatever? And Blanche is like, well, I don't know, blah, 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 and she's like, well, I'll keep it in my room. And she's like, okay, well, you have to ask the other girls because they live here too. And I guess Dorothy didn't like dogs. She wasn't a dog person, whatever. But like anytime there's mention of it being Blanche's house, it just seems very like, okay, well, what's the point? Because these other girls are paying you rent to live in your house. It's your house. You own it, sure. But they're paying to live there.
Right.
So it should be a group effort. It's not just you. You might have the final say. I don't know. I just, that part to me was always just really shitty.
I didn't, honestly, I never even picked up on that.
I don't know. There's several episodes like that, but I was talking about I made the Burt Reynolds theater reference.
Mm-hmm.
The episode where they're going to see Burt Reynolds and they get arrested for prostitution in the hotel. And Dorothy like goes off on these, real prostitutes in the show. And she's like, you don't want to mess with me. I did years in Attica. Whatever. I'm just like, holy shit, what the fuck? And then Sophia comes, like, acts like she's gonna bail him out, and she ends up leaving him in so she could go because there was only 3 tickets. So she goes, and then the next day she's like, oh yeah, I'm going to lunch with Bert. And they're like, Reynolds? She's like, yeah. And then the doorbell rings and they open the door and it's Burt Reynolds. And so he's like, Sophia here, and he walks in and they're all just like not saying anything and just in awe. And Sophia's like, Bert, and he's like, Sophia, let's go. And then and she's like, yeah, blah blah blah. And he goes, which one's the slut? And they all raise their hands. Every fucking time, dude. And not just because it's Burt Reynolds, he's awesome,
right?
But that goes from Blanche is the slut to, when it comes to Burt Reynolds, we're all sluts.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fair response.
Oh my god, it's so great.
And that's a joke that plays for so many years.
Yeah.
Like fast forward 20 years, maybe more even, to the episode of Archer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know this isn't a Burt Reynolds podcast, but it's a good joke. Yeah, we could definitely do a Burt Reynolds podcast.
No, and I love Archer too. Yeah, that's another one of those animated adult shows that I love.
Yeah, we could probably do a whole podcast, like not just an episode. We could do a whole. We just do a whole Burt Reynolds
works
podcast.
Of Burt Reynolds.
Yeah. BRR, Burt Reynolds retrospective. This week we're covering.
We both just have mustaches.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm not going to watch this show just because you both shaved your beards into just mustaches, and it's very strange.
And I will be a single man.
Yeah.
All right, and now we're going to talk about our top 5 favorite Golden Girls episodes of all time. This, in theory, last week when we mentioned doing this, I thought was going to be a fucking breeze. Well,
Yeah.
after the last week of watching basically nothing but Golden Girls, I have found that it was very difficult. So,
because it's fucking
there's not an
the whole show.
Yeah, there's not an episode that I don't like.
Yeah.
So finding 5, it was like you said before we started recording, it was basically finding those one-liners that just popped me the most. So if you want, I can start. I think you started the Nickelodeon, so
sure, go ahead.
To flip-flop it around. I also found that apparently season 2 is my favorite season because the majority of my top 5 come from season 2. Happy accident. So I guess I could have just rewatched season 2 and been done with it. So my number 5 is season 2, episode 19, A Long Day's Journey into Marinara, or Marinade, however you'd like to pronounce that. One of the first lines that really grabbed me by my boo-boo. Dorothy says to Rose, so what you're saying, Rose, is that you brought Glurfenglurgen into the 80s. She's cooking a Glurfenglurgen cake. And Rose says, I don't like to toot my Glurfenglurgen. And Sophia comes just out of nowhere. She goes, I can't even reach mine. And I just I'm on the floor, dude. Sophia's sister Angela, they talk her into moving back from Sicily to Miami because she lived in Miami with her husband before he passed away, and then she moved back to the old country. Rose, I guess the B plot is Rose is basically chicken sitting for a person that she met at the grief center where she works or volunteers, and so she's watching this person's chicken while they're out of town or whatever, and they think that Angela cooks or fries the chicken. They're eating chicken, and they ask her where she got the chicken, and she said she got it in the garage, which is where Rose was housing said chicken. And come to find out, it wasn't. But the whole part of Rose she has 4 different chickens she's trying to teach to play a piano because the chicken plays the piano. It's pretty fucking funny. And then Angela moves in with Sophia's boyfriend Tony, who Sophia's like, what the hell? She always has to have what I don't have, blah, blah, blah. They always trade like little zingers at each other about, I hope your marinara never sticks to your pasta and shit like that. I hope you grow a fucking mole and it has a hair hanging out of it attached to your nose hair. Shit. It's old lady humor is fucking hilarious when they do it right. And this show, they always nail it. But yeah, so Angela moves in with Tony. He's not sleeping with Angela, but he is sleeping with another broad that even Angela didn't know was in the house. And just overall, it's a banger of an episode. And the dynamic between Sophia and Angela is second to none. And they look alike, which is weird.
Yeah. My number 5 is in A Bed of Roses.
Okay.
The one where Rose sleeps with the guy and then he dies.
Yeah.
And it's the story.
Yeah.
That's the pop for me. That's the one that's the pop that made it on the list. That just the
married man she sleeps with.
Yes. Yeah. But just then coming back to the table and then fucking and telling the girls that she was explaining to the cops, explaining to the sheriff how she kills men. And the sheriff says, well, prove it, sleep with me. And then she's like, so I did, and then he died too. And the looks on Blanche's and Dorothy's faces, and the way that they react as they storm out of the room, and Rose is just like, what?
She's so clueless that it's so funny.
That
Betty White fucking
dry
just crushed that fucking
dry Saint Olaf sense of humor.
Yeah,
wonderful.
All right, 4. It's a little long as far as why or basically what it's about, but these are like the kind of the cliff notes. Number 4 is season 4. It's a 2-parter. Episode 6 and 7. Sophia's wedding, parts 1 and 2. Rose gets accepted to start an Elvis fan club. Blanche joins. Blanche claims to have slept with him in a Motel 6 outside of Chattanooga because she wants to be the president of the fan club. Sophia's best friend dies in Brooklyn. She and Dorothy go to Brooklyn to attend the funeral, even though Sophia has passed heat, to use a wrestling term, with her friend's husband, Max, who is still alive. Max and Sal, Sophia's husband, deceased husband, I should say. They owned a pizza / Knish restaurant, and it went tits up when Sal, Sophia's husband, gambled it all away on a horse that he had a tip on, because if you're going to gamble on a horse, you have a tip. And so Max lied for Sal so Sophia wouldn't leave him. And he held on to this for 40 years until his wife died. And then when they saw each other, he finally, said, you're pushing me. I'm going to tell you something you're not going to want to hear. One of those storylines. He tells her, she can't believe it, but they end up hooking up. Then they get married. And then they open the restaurant back up, this time in Miami. They open the Pizza Knish stand up. And then it burns down, and then they realize we can't stay together. We got married for the wrong reasons. Whatever. But the big pop, the comedy spot in this one, is Blanche. You know what I hate doing the most after a big party? And Rose, quick as a whip, try to find your underwear in the big pile. Basically saying that she's a frequenter of orgies.
Yeah.
and there's a few in that one, but I had to pick one in that one. I was like, yeah, that's classic Blanche.
Yeah. Oh my God. The dynamics between all these women.
It's one of the greatest casts in TV history. It's so good.
And then my next one is Butter Queen. The Butter Queen story in jail, surrounded by a bunch of hookers. And just like Blanche and Dorothy, Rose, stop, you're going to embarrass yourself. And she's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. It just goes, carries on. The highest honor in St. Olaf, being the Butter Queen. My parents groomed me since I was born.
So ridiculous.
I honestly, I probably could have made this list entirely of St. Olaf stories.
Yeah,
I really could have, because they are so over the top that it is just like it. I mean, you can see it generally on the looks of the faces of her co-stars.
Yeah,
like
the amount of acting talent that you have to not break up every time somebody says anything in the show. Like, I mean, I know there's outtakes and bloopers and stuff, but I mean, at some point you have to get it right.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever could have. I don't think I mean, if I was cast in this show, as a young boy pretending to be an old woman, I don't think I could. But yeah, that's a good one. As soon as you said Butter Queen, I knew exactly where you were going. My number, what are we at? 3?
3.
Season 2, again, episode 7, Family Affair. Michael and Bridget are Michael is Dorothy's son and Bridget is Rose's daughter. She's kind of, she's a little uppity, acts like she's more than what she really is. And Michael's a jazz musician. He's been traveling around, playing everywhere, playing in different clubs with bands, trying to make it. And Dorothy's very supportive, as any mother would be, of what their son is doing, for the most part, as long as it's positive. But after the whole debacle, they catch them, and all the girls catch them in bed together, and it's a big deal. And apparently to Bridget it wasn't a big deal, but I guess Michael was kind of, seems like he's more into it, like it being something more than just a one night stand. But just this one it's more of the story overall, with Dorothy basically telling Michael it's time to grow up. And that kind of hit home, like you were talking about in the first part, where you were like, you felt like she would be talking to you like sternly, like you felt like you were being punished for something. Yeah. And that's this episode. It almost kind of made me feel like it. She reminds me of my grandmother, my dad's mom. And if like she was getting on to you, like it wasn't what she said that hurt your feelings, it was the way she said it. Mm-hmm. She would make you feel like you were 6 inches tall. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, and the fact that Michael looks like John Oates with the juicy Soul Glow fro and the very, very, very thick mustache. There's no real one-liner in this one that like just grabbed me, but it's the story in this one for me.
Right on. My next one is A Little Romance. The one where Rose is dating a little person, and she's
just watched this one the other day, like 2 days.
Yeah, but it's not even that part of it. Like, yeah. I mean, there's plenty of comedy around that. That alone. But Blanche's story about her senior prom in that episode, like, they get real. This is my favorite. I think it's my favorite. The joke structure for this show. Yeah. They just fucking they grab you and they suck you in with like heartfelt emotion, and then bam, pop.
And it's always right after like something's happened that's serious. They're having a serious, like, heartfelt conversation, and then somebody just nails a zinger, and you're just like, oh fuck, and it brings you back up. That's the good thing. It's not meant. This show's not meant to keep you down for too long.
So, like, because you think about it, the story that she tells is about growing up in the South, and these are all elderly women, mm-hmm. to some degree, or one degree or another. So full well that she grew up during the time of Jim Crow and all that other awful shit, right? And then she just walks you down this story, and it's like, and so there were people that didn't mix back then. Yeah, it's just like, oh Jesus Christ, this is getting what
is Dorothy that says it's like Blanche, that's amazing. You still went with him even though it was taboo because he was black. And she goes, what? He wasn't black?
He's from New Jersey.
He's from New Jersey.
I took a Yankee to my senior prom. Like, it was and again, like the fallout, like the collective fallout by everybody. That's just like
the dream that Rose has though about her tiny friend. Yeah, is pretty funny. Oh it's man,
just, and I felt some of the others needed to be represented on my list.
That was a good one though.
Yeah.
My number 2 is another 2-parter. This one is not from season 2. It's from season 6, so it's a later episode. Episode 24 and 25, Never Yell Fire in a Crowd. This is the one where Sophia's roommate from Shady Pines passes away, and on her deathbed, she confesses to her and Sophia setting fire to Shady Pines accidentally, but they had a the detective calls it an illegal hot plate in her room, and catches the curtains on fire or whatever. And just this one again, it's the story, the fact that an 83, 4, 5-year-old woman is getting arrested for setting fire to a nursing home is fucking hilarious.
Yes it is. Yes it is.
I'm trying. Oh, here this has nothing to do with the story, but this quote popped me, or this exchange. Rose says, "Hi, girls." Dorothy says, "Oh, Rose, I missed you at breakfast. Did you and Miles have fun last night?" Rose says, "Oh, yes, we had dinner at the Mandarin Rascaler, that new Chinese German restaurant." Dorothy says, "How was it?" Rose says, "Oh, the food was good, but an hour later, Miles and I were both hungry for power." She laughs. Nobody else does. And Blanche says, "Oh my, that provincial Midwestern sense of humor that everybody hates." So that alone, and that's early in the episode when that exchange happens. But and it has, like I said, it has nothing to do with the story, but it makes me fucking laugh.
Yeah, it is wonderful.
It's absolutely hungry for power.
Is that like, because it is, the funny thing is, it is a very like everybody I know from that particular region, like either like northern Germany, you start getting into the Scandinavian countries and stuff like that, that pretty much that and then especially the ones that came over here and then moved to the similar climate in like the northern, the deep north Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they just have these like just horribly dark senses of humor, and it's wonderful. And I love them for it, and like, because I have one myself.
There's some jokes in this show now that I feel like if Twitter was around
no
back
way
then,
no way,
they would have got canceled real quick.
No way.
But I mean, you know,
and
that's I see is it's harmless fun. They're
right.
older ladies. You know, you have to think about the time they grew up and whether their sense of humor is right or wrong, or their stories are right or wrong. It's still like it's a coming of age tale.
Yeah.
And they're coming of a certain age.
Yeah.
Where it's all old people are that way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, still, because there's I don't know where the hard line is. But like,
I want to say it's like
once you cross it, you don't
80.
care anymore.
I think 80 is the line.
I think it starts at 60, and then I think it just gets. I think there's like
that makes sense, because I'm pretty sure my mom's give a fuck is broke too. So
yeah, you just like whatever give a fucks they have. It's like they have a bucket, and then they slowly pour it out as they get older after that year, and it's, I mean, it's one of the things. It's why I like drinking at the public nights at like VFWs and stuff like that.
Oh man, those are good times.
Right, you know what I mean? Like the trench humor is the best.
My mom bartended at an Eagles club or lodge. I don't know.
Yeah, I got you.
I guess it would be a lodge, because Moose Lodge, Elks Lodge, Eagles. But yeah, she bartended there for a while. And anytime they would have, like, you know, anybody could come in and hang out, you know, I would go on karaoke nights and sing karaoke with all these older folks.
Yeah.
Dude, they're a fucking riot once they start drinking.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Because I was never really around like older people that drank.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, my mom and her friends were about as old as it got. But like, as far as people in like advanced age, like people who are like in wars and shit, I've never really been around them other than, you know, my job. But that's like, you know, I'm busy. I'm not really sitting there having, you know, hour-long conversations with these people. But like to sit and have, you know, cocktails or a couple of beers or whatever, more than a couple. With and them to tell stories, and some of them are just so fucking like not okay.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, okay,
I mean,
I know that this doesn't affect the situation right now, but I'm uncomfortable.
yeah.
I have some morals left.
I think one of my favorite things is because at the VFW, especially, it's the veterans of the foreign wars.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even, they're not even telling war stories, because it's so very common as, I mean, I guess it depends on who it is.
Yeah, it depends.
Some people like to tell them, but just the, like, they take the temperament that they came back from war, and then they apply it to, regular everyday life.
Right.
So it's the other stories. It's even, and I guess it's like stories that happened to them before they joined the military. Like, and then they just kind of approach it from a different angle, and it just becomes more hilarious.
Yeah, I'm always a big fan of like, I don't want to hear like anybody, and anybody with PTSD, I feel for, but like, I never want to like pry or ask about, anything like that, because that's, it's not right. You shouldn't, try to trigger memories like that. But like, I like to ask like about like the off days and shit, like when you get like a pass or whatever,
Yeah.
go somewhere else and
go off base and party,
go find a little shanty town and shack up with some hua.
Yeah. No, it's great, and it's one of the things that it is reminiscent of that, and it's something I think it just took me a little bit of living to truly appreciate the show.
Yeah.
So my number 2 is The Case of the Libertine Bell, the murder mystery episode.
Yes.
Because one, who doesn't love a fucking murder mystery,
right?
And Sophia in this one, in her thieving ways, like doing the stereotypical old lady stuff and shit in her purse. And when Dorothy is doing the great reveal, when she's doing the Columbo at the end of the episode.
Oh, there's just one more thing.
Yeah. But then she's just like, but what she did at dinner when everybody else was distracted, when whatever. Yeah, when everybody was distracted, she stuck a steak knife in her purse. And Sophia says, "Big deal. I took a whole place set." And completely derails Dorothy's fucking monologue. And she goes, "Not now, Ma." And like, I fell out. Fell out. It is that's because that's the beauty. That is the true beauty of B. Arthur and Dorothy, is that she's the straight man.
Yeah.
But she's got her own punches.
It's so fucking dry.
Yeah, she's got her own punches, but they are, I mean, it's perfect. It's absolutely, because that 1-2, it's always it's not always, it's usually the 1-2 of Sophia and Dorothy.
Yeah.
And it's it's comedy gold.
It's that mom and daughter, but the mom is elderly.
Right.
She's old.
Right. But just and the elderly, like the old, I mean, Sophia's fucking, Sicilian, like off the boat Sicilian, and she's horribly inappropriate for American sensibilities, and it's
even then,
God, it's and it's glorious, and the 1-2 of those two is it's amazing, and that's why that was the pop that got that one on the list.
Not now, Mom.
Yeah, because it's when she breaks with words, she the loss of steam in the monologue.
Yeah,
because she's it's very, very very stern, very serious. She's like, "I figured you out, bitch." And then Sophia's like, "Big fucking deal." And just ruins it. Just just ruins her glory, and it's amazing.
I think all old people are thieves, though.
From what I understand, pretty much.
I mean, I know, obviously working in restaurants basically my entire life.
Yeah.
Sugar packets, ketchup, salt and pepper shakers. They're worse than fucking teenagers. And they always come out in big groups.
Yeah.
usually, older ladies at lunch. There'll be like 10 to 15, maybe 20 of them. Sometimes red hats in tow. Yep. But the funniest thing about older people going out to eat together is they always pay in cash. Mm-hmm. They always pay separately, which, okay, I get it. And it's always like a crisp $20 bill that they buy their lunch with. It's like you literally went to the ATM, got this $20 bill out just to come to lunch with your friends.
ATM? What are you kidding me? They actually stood in line at the bank.
They stood in line.
At the bank, and it was just like, give me
to withdraw $20, a crisp $20 bill.
And they always have more too. It's just like, 5 brand new $20 bills. Please.
Yeah,
thank you.
But yeah, the 120 is for lunch, and then the rest is they're walking around money for the day. Because they're gonna go to yard sales and antique stores. Okay, so my number one kind of gave it away on the first part of the episode. It is the season 2, episode 2. So this is an early episode. This is definitely the earliest episode of my list, and not that season 1 isn't great, because it is, but it's Ladies of the Evening. It's the Burt Reynolds episode. They're in jail with the hookers because they go and they check in the hotel. They don't realize the hotel they're staying at is basically a brothel of sorts, rooms by the hour, etc. And they get arrested because the cops think that they're part of it, which in itself is hilarious. And they're sitting in the jail cell, and this is the Butter Queen story. And Dorothy says she spent time in Attica when one of the street tough prostitutes tries to get a little mouthy, and then Sophia comes like she's gonna bail him out, lets him sit and rot so she can go hang out with Burt Reynolds. Burt Reynolds comes to the house, pick up Sophia for lunch, and as they're walking out for lunch, the best line in the whole probably maybe in the series, in my opinion, which one's the slut? And they all raise their hand. Never gets old. I could watch that episode on a fucking loop and laugh every time. It's Bert's delivery, it's classic Bert. He's got the gum, he's chewing, getting after it. And that episode is just, since I remember watching it the first time, that's always been my favorite.
It's a good one. It's a good favorite to have.
Mm-hmm.
And mine is The Way We Met. I still probably has to be one of the best ad libs in sitcom history. Is the Great Herring War, like Saint Olaf's Great Herring War. And like and it's just because really, like, it's again always with the Saint Olaf, it's always over the top, it's always ridiculous, it's always hilarious, but it is always punctuated by the reaction of the castmates. So like when you see Rue McClanahan's, like when her head goes down because she just can't look at her anymore. She's just sitting there like with her head down laughing, and even B and her line delivery pushing the story along, she's just sitting there fucking chuckling. That is the best take.
Yeah.
This is the best take they got, because at no point does that story get less ridiculous. and Betty White's her delivery again, also like deadpan, like she's fucking serious.
Yeah. and a lot of those St. Olaf stories were improv.
Yeah.
She made them up.
Right. And
because I have seen different outtakes where the story changes slightly each time.
But like one of the families wanted to pickle the herring. The other families wanted to train them for the circus. And then it's like, what?
I love it.
It was like SeaWorld, just a lot smaller. A lot smaller. Yeah, just fucking like just perfect.
That is a good one.
Perfect. I think this is, and we may have touched on it last week, but I feel like, I mean, this might have to be the most perfect sitcom.
I think it is.
Like, I don't think any, even like of all of the greatest sitcoms that have ever been, I don't think, like, every one of them has like a few where you're like, eh. But this one just fires on all cylinders at all times. And yeah, everybody in the show is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm a big fan of Seinfeld as well. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's usually everybody's number one sitcom, ever. And I mean, that show, that first season, it's like 6 episodes and they're not good.
No.
And I mean, even throughout the show, there's a couple of stinkers.
Oh yeah.
But I can't think of one episode of the show that's just a flop.
No.
Every episode I'm gonna laugh at least 2 or 3 times. Even like the lighter toned episodes. You're gonna find something that's funny.
And I think to the credit of this show, the most like, it's not chuckles.
Mm-hmm.
It's guffaws. Like, it is sharp, loud belly laughs.
Yeah.
Like
Gutbusters.
Yeah. They kill it every time.
Yep.
Like, and that's what, because that, it's always because, like, they're not doing, I mean, like with the Great Herring War story, like, it's funny the whole time just because it is ridiculous. But like the Blanche story, like pretty much everybody else, like when the joke is getting set up by somebody else, it's generally like it's a gut buster, because it'll start real serious, real somber, and then right when you think you know what's going to happen, bam, and it's like it's amazing every time, and I love it. I love the show for it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's my favorite sitcom of all time. I think it's hilarious. Said it 1,000 times just in these 2 recordings. It's the best cast put together, and I didn't even touch on Stan, but I mean, Stan is an amazing, 5th character in the show. The pilot with the cook.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense that he never shows up again, and they kind of help that out with because Sophie is always cooking for the girls and stuff. And but I mean,
always got a pot of gravy on the fucking
this show is just one that's it's gonna live on forever, because it even though like it visually it ages, because I mean it started in 85 and ended in 92, 93, but visually it ages, but the comedic timing, it's like the Honeymooners. Black and white, 56 episodes, somewhat a short run, but that's one of those shows that was so far ahead of its time, and the comedy and the timing and the straight up acting and the stories. I can go back and watch that show now and laugh. They don't make them like they used to.
No, they certainly do not.
And that's I think this is one. I mean, my kids love it. Yeah. I have 3 boys, 15, 14, and fucking 9, and they think the show's hilarious.
Yeah.
So Tommy calls it the old lady show.
It transcends. It definitely, like, it transcends generations, transcends time. It'll never, like, it'll, like, I feel like it's more popular now than it was then.
Probably,
especially with it on Hulu now.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, on the first part, they didn't have merch and stuff when the show was running. They didn't have Golden Girls t-shirts, coffee mugs, sweatpants, all that. Now they do, and like I feel like I have to have it all. And maybe one day I will, but I want to get the action figures. I haven't got those yet, but I want to get those. They're a little pricey.
Have a little shrine.
Yeah. But I've got like the Pops, and then Funko put out Pez dispensers. I got those and some other stuff, but I want the action figures. I wish they had like a licensed poster I'm sure they do, probably at like a Hobby Lobby or something like that. I hear Hobby Lobby has quite the selection of Golden Girls merch. I have to go check that out one of these days.
That'd be interesting to see it. I don't go into Hobby Lobbies all that often.
I feel like there'd be like some wicker furniture by it too.
That would be funny, is if they did Golden Girls licensed wicker furniture.
Oh my god.
Just slap it on. Just need a little tag.
Yeah.
Just a little tag. Otherwise, it's just a fucking chair. But it's
have your own lanai.
Yeah.
Licensed Golden Girls wicker furniture.
The Golden Girls series wicker furniture set.
I'm surprised they haven't had their own brand of cheesecake yet, honestly. So I think we can wrap up this month.
Yep.
What is the plan for June?
Next month we are going to cover our favorite camp stuff,
like summer camp.
Yeah, summer camp.
Okay.
Because it's the perfect, like, it's, summer's heating
June.
Up. Yep. And it was always something that was very elusive. Only went to camp a couple of times.
Yeah.
But I had experiences.
I never went to camp per se, but I have some pretty good stories about some other things.
Yeah.
And that you could tie into a camp-esque.
And the media about camp is wonderful.
Yes, there's a lot. I feel like I'm going to be very heavy.
You and me both.
I love that
movie.
You
and me both. Like, that
love it.
I still, to this day, like, I wish, and it's, I mean, it doesn't subtract from the movie, but you can tell that it was an acquired property.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the movie was made and then Disney acquired it. And then they changed a few things.
Yeah.
Like, there's a couple of times where they swear, and it's like they dub it, and it's horrible.
Obvious. Yeah.
But yeah, like, that's it. Like, honestly, not for nothing, we could probably do the entire episode on heavyweights.
Probably.
And I wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Like, it will likely, like, it'll be like heavyweights with meatballs and like a couple other things. Like, they get an honorable mention.
Yeah, and a couple of stories here and there.
Yeah,
some summer stories.
But that's it. And I think it's all right. I think it'll make a great t-shirt.
Yeah,
on mudamerch.com.
Yes, there it is.
And yeah, I think it'll be a fun one. And I like reminiscing about that shit, and that's what the show's all about. So
we love to reminisce here. All right. Well, on that note, we've got stuff to do today. It's a Saturday. It's a beautiful Saturday in both of our neck of the woods. So we will talk to you next month with our episode on summer camp. Oh my God. All right. Talk to you later.
Later.